about sex, baby.
Let's talk about
business.
Business.
Yeah.
I think it's a good topic.
I think it's a great topic. I mean, everything, if you think about it, is business. Even relationships, right? You're kind of the product or the service.
Well, they say if the service is free, you're the product.
Well, yeah.
Well, I really think in business everything is a representation of who you are. The way that you handle your business has to do with a lot of who you are. The way that you handle it, the way that you go on to it. Like, recently I was just on a phone call with this lady. We were talking about expanding the brand. And the idea here is like, her idea was, let's go for celebrities, let's go for these big people, because that's how it's always done. But that's not the way that I want to do it, because that's not the way that I believe. The way that I believe is, why not work for the everyday people, the younger people, the people that need a voice, the people that don't get the support? Why not take the everyday person and make them a celebrity? I think nowadays with social media, with the way that we can use our technology, it's not about people being higher than us. It's about understanding that everybody's on that same level. So when it comes to business, it's really understanding that don't put these people on a pedestal. Don't put yourself on a pedestal. Don't put people beneath you or above you, that we're all in the same way. And when you get a clear understanding like that, and every meeting that you go in and you realize that nobody is better, nobody is worse than you, but you're there and getting to the heart of it, I think that's where success comes from. To really speak the truth of what you really want. Because are you willing to go into business and do a business that doesn't resonate with you every single day? Because you want to make somebody else happy, or you thought that was the most correct way to do it? That's not right. Because you have to live with that decision every single day. So why not live with the decision that chooses you, right?
I like that a lot. I think this idea of humanizing somebody. So I used to have a job where I was often pitching or interacting or trying to do business with, the heads of state. So prime ministers, presidents, the biggest CEOs of the largest corporations in any given country. And oftentimes, I don't know if it's because I just have a terrible memory, or, whenever I meet somebody, it doesn't matter if they're a Forbes billionaire or a homeless person, I treat everybody the same, and I don't, I don't put anyone on a pedestal, because who's to say that they should be on this pedestal to begin with? And what actually wound up happening most of the time is, I think they're so used to automatically having this reputation and being put on this pedestal that it's almost like annoying for them. So when someone like me comes along and it's like, I'm not going to treat you any differently, you need to prove to me with your actions that you're worth somebody that I will be like, wow, you're a great person. Prove it. Just because you're this person, or you have this title, or you have this position, doesn't mean anything to me unless you prove to me that you're a good human being. And actually that wound up opening a lot of doors, and people were like, wow, she doesn't know who I am. Oops. And she doesn't care. She's not one of these people who are just out to get something from me because of who I am. It's like, she actually doesn't know who I am. And I think because of that, they were able to truly be themselves, And I think at the end of the day, when it comes to business, when it comes to relationships, when it comes to anything, you want to do business with people that you actually like, because you're going to have to spend a lot of time with these people, right? So if you're going to engross and mix your life, because when you're in business, it's hard to separate the two, right? Because it takes up so much of your time. So don't you want to always associate with people that have integrity and that are being authentic and that are being real? And if your life is going to be so involved with this one individual or their business or whatever, you want to make sure that you're choosing wisely, and you're not associating yourself with someone that you're like, oh God, I would never be their friend, or I would never spend time with them outside of the workplace, or I would never trust them with my children. I mean, I don't have kids, but you know what I mean? If you wouldn't do that in life, then you probably don't want to be in business with them, because it is kind of essentially getting into bed with these people, right?
100%.
Yeah.
I also believe that if you walk into a room and everywhere is naked, how would you act? How would you be? Like, you know what I mean? Like, we all use the bathroom the same way. We all, like, so just because somebody's in a suit or they have a certain kind of job doesn't make them better or worse than anybody else. But I truly believe that a lot of people that didn't go to high school actually can become very successful, because we get into this idea of this high school mentality of your social status. In high school, I was this person was here, this person was there, this was their role. And high school gets so ingrained in our mind that we kind of go into society with these ideas of our social settings. That this is the cool person gets this, and the popular person, and the pretty person. And that dynamics and the way that it works is not actually how it works in life. It's not the pretty person that gets it all. It's not this person that gets it all. It's the person that's willing to go for it. It's the person that's willing to see past the looks and see into the heart. It's the person that's willing to take the steps. It's the person that's willing to try again and try again and try again that becomes successful. And
sorry.
No, I was just gonna say, like, when you really think about why you're living with some kinds of structure, could it be a high school mentality? Could it be the way that you were raised, that your parents taught you to look at family members and life and society in a certain way? Is that structure working for you? Because if it's not working for you, then you need to break that construct. But how do you break a construct? By understanding that there is a construct. So why is it that certain people are felt this way? Why is it that you feel nervous when you go into the room? Is it because you think that they're going to see something, that they have more value than you? Because they don't. They have knowledge, they have experience, there's things that you can learn, but it has nothing to do about your value, it has nothing to do about your worth, it has nothing to do about you, but it has everything to do with experience. I used to have social anxiety when I went into like networking meetings. I didn't like it, but I realized that I was going to the wrong meetings. I was meeting the wrong people. I wasn't in the places that I wanted to be, and I felt it, but I tried because I felt this is what I had to do. This is who I had to be. And then I started going to places that I wanted to. And then I started networking with people that were just them, where I could be me. I broke away from the constructs and ideas in my head, and business and everything flowed so much better because I broke away from the superficial concepts of how things should look for business, how people should look for business, and the way that business have to look.
Interesting. I think the high school analogy, because it is very compartmentalized. It's like you're either the cool kids, and then there's the jocks, and the nerds, and the this and the that. And it's like, while that may have been such an important part of our lives, and we had associated ourselves with this group, whatever group you decided that you had fallen into.
If you were in a group.
If you were in a group, yeah. You also can outgrow that group, and that group that you were previously a part of doesn't define who you are. And like, we change, we grow, we evolve, and we can choose at any given time that is no longer me anymore, you know? And I think another thing that is really important is the person who usually makes it is the one that believes that they're gonna make it. The one that has the most confidence and the most faith, and the one that is just like, this is going to be my future no matter what. And even if like they're not the smartest, they're not the prettiest, they're not, you know, none of that, but the ones that have unshakable, unwavering, unequivocal faith that this is their destiny and they're gonna get there no matter what, and they will never give up on that, is typically the one who is like,
in 10 kilometers, keep right toward Toronto.
In 10 kilometers, will make their dreams come true.
100%. Feed the bellies.
Yeah.
It really is about the ideas that we have in our head, because if you truly believe that you're not going to make it, then you're not.
You're not.
And if you believe that you're going to make it, a lot of times it's possible. But it's like, if you ask your question, can I do it? If you actually put the possibility of thinking that there is a possibility that you can do it, then it's amazing what your brain will do. It's like, as I said before, like, your brain is a Google search. So if you search, why am I stupid? Your brain's gonna be like, well, let me tell you all the reasons. You weren't educated, you weren't this, and you weren't loved. But if you're like, how something, well, it's just like, well, boom, boom, boom. How can I get there? Like, and understanding the whys, you open up the search to a more progressive way of doing it. And also when you break away from groups, man, because the group that you're with today doesn't mean that it's the group that you're with tomorrow. And to associate your identity with a group of people, we tend to attach ourselves too much to them. But people change, right?
Oh God.
People grow. People go their own way, and so do you. You know, what I was gonna say is, like, when I stopped drinking, my whole world changed. All my friends were like, bar, drink, and all I wanted to do was go to the library. Now, just because I saw them less didn't mean that we weren't friends, but I was on a new chapter in my life to meet new people, to venture out, and that took me into rock climbing, into running, into ultras, into meeting great people, because I realized that just because I'm not sharing the same interests with them anymore, which is drinking, doesn't mean that I can't do my own interests. It also means that by me doing that, if they're still going to be in my life, then that's a true friendship. But if it was not, and they're like, well, I can't be friends with you anymore, then you know what? That was always a conditional thing, a conditional thing to start with. So it's interesting, because even in business, sometimes, are you there with the right people, or is it a conditional thing that I need you for this, but after that? But how do you know unless you embrace your truth, right?
And I think it's important to recognize that some people are not necessarily meant to be a part of your life forever. Some people are there to teach you a lesson, to be a part of who you are at that time. And you know, I think it's funny because they're like, people don't change. There's this idea that people don't change, and I would highly disagree with that, because
it's the only thing people do.
the only constant is change.
Yep.
And you know, if I look at the person that I was even, you know, 5 years ago, 7 years ago, I'm night and day. I'm a very different person in many regards, and I'm so thankful that instead of just going through the motions of the person that I believed myself to be for whatever reason, and that probably did have a little bit to do with like this the groups that we put ourselves in, or you know, that we associate ourselves with, or that we deem that we have been placed into and can't get out of. And once you break through that and say, well, no, what do I actually care about, and who am I? You know, who am I to the core? What makes sense for me? And that's also going to evolve. That's going to change as we grow, we learn, we change, we, you know, it's not this like linear path. Again, I think nothing is really just like point A to B.
Keep right toward Toronto.
Is this straight line. It's not. And our growth trajectory is the same way, you know?
And it's also the fact that sometimes we stay in a group because of what the group thinks of us. It's like, in the group, I am this person, and you get so attached to the thoughts of the group that you actually disconnect from the thoughts of who you are. In a lot of groups, I was always this kind of person, and that's like, that was my identity, that's who I was, but yet I felt so disconnected with what they saw I was to what I really was.
Continue straight, then use the right 2 lanes to keep right toward Toronto.
And I think, you know, it breaks back to what we were talking about before. We always, like, things keep on going back to identity and relationships.
Use
and,
the right 2 lanes to keep right toward Toronto.
They're all so interconnected. Just so you guys know where we're going.
We're going towards Toronto.
We're going to Toronto.
Keep right.
We gotta keep right.
We gotta keep right.
And you know, it's like, all these things are so interconnected. You know, I actually had a meeting with a guy the other day, and he was talking about, I want to change jobs. I don't know what I want to do. And I'm just like, well, before you change your job, understand, who are you? Why do you want to change this job? Like, so many people, I really believe they're like, there's this idea that if it's not,
take exit 418 towards
We can turn that down a little stitch.
all right, but there's a lot of people that believe that there's a saying that if you really want to get your dreams, if you want to go with it, quit your job, quit everything, and with 2 feet just jump into everything else. I, on the other hand, do not come from that mentality, where I think that while you have your job, Write down the awareness. Why don't you like it? What would you change? What would you make different? How can you milk that job as much as you can, make the income, have the things, start doing the side project, and then move forward?
So that's probably the smarter way to do it. I'm very much like, okay, I'm jumping! And then I'm like, I just jumped, and I might have broken my ankle, but now I need to heal from that, but it's cool.
But I'm happy you said that, because don't do the way that you think everybody else is doing it.
Yes.
Do your way. If you want to do it Simone's way, you want to do it my way, you want to do it like that guy's way or anybody's way, just do it your way, what makes sense to you, but don't think that, break out of this high school mentality of, I either go to the party or I don't go to the party. You can go to the party for 5 minutes. You don't even have to go. There's another party. You can go get a slice of pizza. You can do whatever you want. But like, you have a choice, and like, understand that you live in a perfect world, and what perfect means to me is that we have the endless and utter possibilities of choice. Choice is our perfection, because we can choose endless possibilities of what we want to do, that there's no finite way of like, it's either this or this. It's infinite. You have the choice to do whatever you want, however you want, and you can constantly change it, and that's the beauty behind it.
And I love that, no matter whether you jump, you leap, you do the more calculated, kind of, in a lot of ways, smarter idea, like more calculated, a little safer, there's no wrong. Like, no matter what, I feel like if you are truly, you want something and you're destined for it, it just might take you a little bit longer, but like, you're gonna eventually find your way there. And as we navigate, we take this turn and oops, we wound up here and now there's a dead end, we gotta backtrack a little bit. You're gonna learn, and you're gonna become stronger and smarter and better prepared to deal with whatever comes your way the next time. Like,
100%.
There's no wrong. And like, to even hear me saying this stuff now is like so incongruent with the group that I was once in my 20s, for example. Like, I would never say this. I would never, ever be like, yeah, everything totally teaches you a lesson and like, you're everything. No. I would have never appreciated all of the things, and I would have categorized them as being good and bad and right and wrong and this and that, and it's just like
black and whites, yeah.
And the thing is, we don't really have control over the things, because there's so many different moving parts and components and people and factors, and like everything is a factor in like how it's going to turn out, right? But I think if you can just take a step back sometimes and like look at the big picture and be like, oh, okay, I think you'll always notice that, like, oh, I see, that blip was actually absolutely necessary in order for me to now get to where I am. And I mean, that's really beautiful,
I think so too. And you hit on the point that no matter what you do, you'll always come back to you. So what's your relationship with yourself? What's your identity with yourself? How do you interact with yourself? Like, learning all these things about you and what you want to do, because there is this, I believe, this innate thing inside of ourselves that we want. And if we don't know what we want, that's not a bad thing. And sometimes knowing what we don't want helps us actually get closer to it.
Absolutely.
So try it, have fun, experiment, like live, don't survive. Ask yourself these questions and progress and move forward, because at the end of the day, business that you do is the business that you do with yourself. It's the business that you need to take care of. Like, it's that everyday hustle and grind and investment that you're doing. The ROI that you should care about is the return on investment in yourself. What are you getting out of it? How are you investing in it? What are you doing today to make your future self happier? It might be harder and you might not enjoy it, but your future self would be like, thank you so much, because you gave me the best return on investment. Whether it's that relationship, or whether it's that business deal, whatever what it is, but like, you only learn by trying.
And I think so I'm reading this book right now by a very, very, very smart person, and someone who I consider my friend, named Mo Gaudet. And he used to be a Google X engineer, incredibly intelligent guy. He wrote this book called Solve for Happy. And it's this idea that we are trying to add all these other things to the equation, that we think that after we get those things, or we accomplish that, or we do this, or whatever, that then it'll lead to our happiness. And it's like, we don't actually need all of those extra things within the equation. We should just be trying to solve for happy. And, you know, for me, I realized that because I didn't know myself, because I didn't take that time to figure out who I was and what made me happy, I was always searching for these external things that I believed that once I got them, once I achieved this or got that or bought that or got this guy, that then I would be able to be happy. And none of that stuff will ever lead you to happiness. It's only, again, going within and figuring out what does bring me joy. You know, what are these little things that I could be doing that I'm not doing for myself? And it might not even be something that costs money, that takes a lot of time or energy. It's like, I think it's really important because we can really be such jerks to ourselves. We can be so mean and so hard on ourselves, and it doesn't have to be that way. You know, if there's one takeaway, I know we started off in business and, you know, it kind of segued a little bit, but I mean, business is life and life is business, and it all comes down to the same thing. And you can take the word business and replace it with love or friends or family,
just different
or whatever. Different jargon. It's like, please don't be so hard on yourself. Be nice to yourself. Be kind to yourself. Tell yourself empowering, loving thoughts. And you know what? You might make a mistake or two because we're human. If you weren't making mistakes, I'd be like, who is this robot? Because, you know, that artificial intelligence is really on point right now. No, it's within us to sometimes, and there are no mistakes though. And you can change your perspective to be like, I didn't screw up. I needed to learn this lesson, and now I'm stronger because of it. And it's just like reframing, having a different perspective that's more empowering, that's kinder to yourself, and more loving. Because as somebody who really, really didn't love herself for a very, very long time, it's just not worth it. Life's too short for that. And only you can change that, right?
Whether it's through business or relationships or whatever it is, and it is all interconnected no matter who you are. It's just a lot of times we chase the money. Well, it's not the money we want. What does it represent to us? A lot of times we chase the house, the money, the relationships, the job, but what is it representing? What do we feel that by having this it will give us that we feel like we're currently missing? Marketing 101 is don't sell them a product, sell them a feeling. So what feeling are you trying to buy? What feeling are you trying to sell? And better understand who you are, where you are, your product, your brand, and everything about yourself, and know that your product is not for everyone. And
that's okay. That's great.
And there's so many people in the world that, you know what, it's not about them all, because not everybody's they're not paying your bills, they're not taking care of you, and if you do everything for everybody else, at the end of the day, you feel like you've done something for no one, because you're the one that matters the most. So no matter if it's business, relationship, or anything, taking that moment to understand yourself, to love yourself, to appreciate yourself, to be grateful for where you are. Maybe where you are is not 100% where you want, but you've come a fucking far away from where you've been. And you should always take those moments. And yeah, that's been a good talk.
Yeah.
All right, catch you on the next Carcast.